All right, welcome to our lesson on adding decimals. Really quickly, what I would like you to do is go ahead and add a title, Adding Decimals. Okay, the first thing we're going to do really quickly is review place value. Now, I know that you know the whole number place values. There's the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands. If I have a number sitting there, that number's 5. The 3 means 3 tens. So 10, 20, 30, 35. We know this, and we could keep going to the left, but we don't need to. We're going to focus on what comes after the decimal space. But the reason that I went ahead and added these over here is because they're mirror images of each other, basically. Starting with the tenths. Just to the right of the decimal space is the tenths, then the hundredths, then the thousands, and it keeps going and going and going. Now, as you know, when we go to the right, we're moving smaller and smaller and smaller. Think about this as being 5 whole pizzas. And if I put a 1 here, that would be 35 whole pizzas and, the decimal is pronounced and, 1/10. Now, 1/10 of a pizza is really small. It's just, a slice. After this, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can kind of visualize that in your head. Anyways, if I add a number here, now to the right of the decimal, it looks like a 14. But it lands in the hundredths place, so that's kind of its label, its name. This would be pronounced 35 and 14 hundredths. Now let's say I add another number. Now to the right of the decimal space, it reads 149. It lands in the thousandths, so the whole number is pronounced 35 and 149 thousandths. So that's just a little review for you on place value. Okay, let's move into our main lesson today. Oops, sorry about that. Which is adding decimals. Adding decimals. Okay, the question here is 7/10 plus 4/100. Now, this is one whole block. You could think of it as a cake or a pizza, and it's kind of just chunked into 100 little squares. It's chunked into hundredths. So that means 7/10. How would I show 7/10 if these are each 1 out of 100? Well, you can see that there's 10 rows here. So each row is 1/10 of the whole thing. If we're trying to draw 7/10 or shade in 7/10, this would be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. 7/10. Okay. And, which is plus 4/100. That means 4 little squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now total, if we were to count this, we would have 74 little squares. 74 out of the 100, 74 hundredths. I know that my total answer here is 74 hundredths. But the real question is, how did I get there mathematically? I can't sit here and draw pictures every time. That would take forever. Well, what you do is you set up the two numbers, the two add-ins, on top of each other. And the trick here, in order to get it right, is you have to line up the decimal space. So my decimal's right there. I'm going to put the other one right below it. And now I'm going to fill in the second number. There's a 0 here, a 0 here, and a 4 here. Now it looks a little funky because, as you can tell, we're missing a space right there. There's nothing there. The number that means nothing is 0. It's okay to add zeros to the right of a number. The other reason that this makes sense is that this top number now, instead of 7/10, it's pronounced 70 hundredths. And if we look back to our picture, there's 70 green ones, 70 hundredths that are shaded in. So 7/10, 7/100, same thing. We can always add zeros to the right of our numbers. Okay. Now we just add like normal from right to left. 0 plus 4 is 4. 7 plus 0 is 7. Drop down your decimal. And 0 plus 0 is 0. My answer, I already knew it. They're the same thing, 74 hundredths. Okay, let's do one more example really quick. 1 and 2/10 plus, now again, the trick here is that we can't just place the numbers wherever we feel. We've got to line up the decimals. 0 there, a 2 there, a 3 there. Now again, I've got an empty hole. There's nothing there. That means I'm going to add a 0. It's okay to add zeros to the right of the number. Now I'm all lined up. I've got all my gaps filled in, and I can just start adding from right to left. 0 plus 3 is 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. Drop down my decimal. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 and 43 hundredths. So this makes sense because if I had 1.2, and if we're talking about money, that's $1.20. $1.20 plus 23 cents is $1.43, which is what it looks like. Okay, and the final thing that we're going to do tonight is talk about the algorithm, the steps. Algorithm is just a big word for steps. Step 1, line up the decimal points. Remember, you're writing everything I'm writing. Line up the decimal points. Step 2, insert zeros to the right of a number so that both add-ins have the same decimal places. If there was a gaping hole like there was before, if there's a little hole, we'll put a 0 in there if we need to. Sometimes they line up perfect and it's nice and easy. Okay, step 3, add each place value beginning with the right side. We're going to start right to left. Right to left. If you don't add right to left, you could get the answer wrong. And finally, drop down your decimal point. We can't think that this is 143. It's 1 and 43 hundredths. All right, and that's it for tonight. The rest we will do in class tomorrow, so don't worry about doing it now. Have a good night.